Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today we're hearing from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And we're hearing from the 8th chapter, 8th text. And it says, Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanyagamina paramam purusham divyam yati partana chintaya. He who meditates on me, meaning Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, Lord Krishna stresses the importance of remembering him. One's memory of Krishna is revived by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By this practice of chanting and hearing the sound vibration of Krishna, By this practice of chanting and hearing the sound vibration of the Supreme Lord, one's ear, tongue, and mind are engaged. This mystic meditation is very easy to practice, and it helps one attain the Supreme Lord. Purusam means enjoyer. Although living entities belong to the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord, they are in material contamination. They think themselves enjoyers, but they are not the Supreme Enjoyer. Here it is clearly stated that the Supreme Enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in his different manifestations and plenary expansions as Narayana, Vasudeva, etc. The devotee can constantly think of the object of worship, meaning Krishna, the Supreme Lord, in any of his features, Narayana, Krishna, Rama, etc. By chanting Hare Krishna, this practice will purify him, and at the end of his life, due to his constant chanting, he will be transferred to the kingdom of God. Yoga practice is the meditation on the supersoul within. Similarly, by chanting Hare Krishna, one fixes his mind always on the Supreme Lord. The mind is fickle, and therefore it is necessary to engage the mind by force to think of Krishna. One example often given is that of the caterpillar that thinks of becoming a butterfly, and so is transformed into a butterfly in the same life. Similarly, if we constantly think of Krishna, it is certain that at the end of our lives, we shall have the same bodily constitution as Krishna, meaning you'll have a spiritual body and go back to Godhead. Text number 9. Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Anor Aniyamsam Anusmaret Ya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person, Krishna, as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The process of thinking of Krishna is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that he is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy and is factually stated herein. First of all, the Lord is Purusha, a person. We think of the person Rama and the person Krishna. And whether one thinks of Rama or of Krishna, what he is like is described in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kavi, that is, he knows past, present, and future, and therefore knows everything. He is the oldest personality because he is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of him. He is also the supreme controller of the universe, and he is the maintainer and instructor of humanity. He is smaller than the smallest. The living entity is 1/10,000th the part of the tip of a hair. But the Lord is so inconceivably small that he enters into the heart of this particle. Therefore, he is called smaller than the smallest. As the Supreme, he can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and control him as the Supersoul. Although so small, he is still all-pervading and is maintaining everything. By him, all these planetary systems are sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by his inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word achintya, inconceivable, is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable. Achintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world and yet is beyond it. We cannot comprehend even this material world. What is insignificant compared to the spiritual world? So how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent persons avoid useless argument and speculation. Should accept what is stated in scriptures like the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's wonderful purport. It's giving us a window in how to understand the glories of Krishna. It's very important. If we understand even a little bit who Krishna is, we become purified. And when we're purified, if we continue chanting Hare Krishna, we go back to Godhead. So that should be the real goal of life. We're not meant to rot birth after birth in the material world. That's not a good thing. But yet, if we take up Krishna consciousness seriously, in a very easy way, we can attain liberation. All you have to do is give up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and take up chanting Hare Krishna, regularly hearing lectures by genuine devotees, and going on Harinam Sankirtan, and eat only Krishna prasadam. That will get us purified. Especially Krishna prasadam is very important. It is sanctified food, vegetarian food without onion and garlic that has been offered to Krishna with love and devotion, and then offered to the devotees or anyone. Once you take Krishna prasadam, and especially in a regulated way, you become purified, and you develop a desire to learn more and more about Krishna. And eventually, you develop love and devotion for Krishna. The more you hear about Krishna, the more you become convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to him. No one is greater than him. Everyone is subordinate to him. And therefore, by regularly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we become purified by the holy names of the Lord. If you ever go to India, especially to places where there are many devotees of Krishna, you will hear them all the time chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because they have developed love and devotion for Krishna. Anyone who has love and devotion for Krishna will always chant the holy names of the Lord and help other people also to develop that wonderful, concept of always chanting the holy names of the Lord. Okay, so Prayanakali Manasan Chalena Bhaktya Yokto Yoga Balena Chaiva Ruv Avor Madhye Pranam Avesha Samyok Satam Param Purusham Upaiti Divyam. One who, at the time of death, fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if you don't fix your life air between the eyebrows, but you meditate undeviatingly on Krishna, at the moment of death, you go back to Godhead. That should be our real purpose in life. And in the purport, it says, in this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Ajna chakra. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga, involving meditation on the 6 chakras, is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality Godhead by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the words yoga bolena is significant in this verse, because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, meaning chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. So here is a very, very good advice. If we chant the Hare Krishna mantra every day, like I chant the Hare Krishna mantra every day, at least 2 to 3 hours, and we become practiced to always hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, right up to the moment of death. And that'll be the last thing that we say. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Automatically you go back to the spiritual world. It's very easy, actually. I've been chanting the holy names of Krishna at least 16 rounds every day for the last last 50 years. And I do it every day. Why? Because I understand that chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the way of getting the, what you would call, getting the mercy of Krishna, and also by that mercy of Krishna being able to be liberated at the time of death and go back to Godhead. So, for me, chanting Hare Krishna is very, very important. Not only because I like to go back to the spiritual world, but because I love Krishna. And I love chanting his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The names of Krishna are sacred. And anyone who chants regularly the names of Krishna is qualified to go back to the spiritual world. And this is a special, special mercy in this age of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the worst time of humanity, because most people are atheistic and not interested in God. However, by the mercy of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our Guru Dev, he has helped hundreds and thousands of people to take up chanting the Hare Krishna mantra on a regular basis every day, like myself and like many others. By his mercy, we have a chance to liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. That's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnava, and the mercy of the Vaishnavas. So therefore, here also it says, the particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse, because without practice of yoga, whether it's Sat Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system. Well, it's not just some yoga system, specifically the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Well, this is the best, what you would call merciful knowledge by which we will have a successful human life practiced by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra right up to the moment of death, and then remembering Krishna by the holy names of the Lord, going back to the spiritual world. That, of course, should be our real purpose in life. Most people don't understand that, and it's very sad, because they'll stay in this material world, birth after birth after birth after birth after birth, suffering and being always troubled, being always in difficulty, and even sometimes not even having a human birth in these different, let's say, times in their lives. Just to come to the human form of life, we've already gone through 8,400,000 species of living entities. And when you get to the human form of life, that is very, very special. And if we lose that, let's say, if we don't take advantage of having the human form of life and using the human form of life for chanting Hare Krishna and developing love and devotion for Krishna, we go back again into the animal or even less than animal life. So why take a chance? Here we are now with human body. We have gone through the 8,400,000 different human bodies already. But because we have this human body now, if we take it seriously and chant the Hare Krishna mantra and engage in devotional service for the Lord in this one lifetime, we can be qualified to go back to the spiritual world. We've had so many births and deaths to come gradually to the human form of life. Now, don't waste this opportunity. Otherwise, we'll go back again into the animal world or the insect world. We've gone through all those horrible situations already. Why go through it again? Here's our chance. You can only go from the human life to the spiritual world. You can't do it from dog life or animal life. You have to come to the human form of life where you can understand who is Krishna. You'll have that education and you'll have that faith in Krishna, And then, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra continually, you'll go back to Godhead. Okay, so Yad Aksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Vishanti Yad Yatayo Vita Raga Yad Ichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tate Padam Sangrahena Pravakshye. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Brahman meaning the spiritual world. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Well, you have to attain the platform of becoming celibate. It's very difficult to meditate properly and to catch the attention of Krishna if you are not celibate. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have children. You can have children, but 1, 2, 3 kids or 4 kids, and then you give it up. And then the rest of your life, you teach your children to be good devotees, and you give up sex. So sex is only meant for procreation. It's not meant for so-called happiness. No. Unfortunately, today, people engage unnecessarily in illicit sex, and they ruin their possibility of developing love and devotion for Krishna. However, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our spiritual master, he has taught us to give up illicit sex. That doesn't mean you can't have children, but you cannot have sex just for so-called pleasure. So it's good to have 1 child, 2 children, 3 children, maybe 4 children, and then you give it up, and the rest of your life you spend taking care of those children, teaching them to be Krishna conscious, and helping them to develop a spiritual life, and you also maintain your spiritual life so that you can remember Krishna at the moment of death and go back to Godhead. Okay, so we're reading from the 8th chapter, text number 11. Yad Aksharam Veda Vido Vedanti Vishanti Yat Yatayo Vita Raga Yad Achanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tate Padam Sangrahena Pravaksye. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. You see, you have to practice celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Shri Krishna has recommended to Arjuna the practice of Sat Chakra Yoga, in which one places the air of life between the eyebrows, taking it for granted that... One second. One second. One second. Okay. Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Anur Aniyamsam Anushyamad Anusyamar Ya Sarvasiddhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. One should meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the one who knows everything, as He who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and He is transcendental beyond this material nature. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The process of thinking of the Supreme is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that He is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The purpose of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy, and it is factually stated herein. First of all, the Lord is Purusha, a person. We think of the person Rama and the person Krishna. And whether one thinks of Rama or of Krishna, what he is like is described in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kavi, that is, He knows past, present, and future, and therefore knows everything. He is the oldest personality because He is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of Him. He is also the supreme controller of the universe, and He is the maintainer and instructor of humanity. He is smaller than the smallest. The living entity is 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. But the Lord is so inconceivably small that He enters into the heart of this particle. Therefore, He is called smaller than the smallest. As the Supreme, He can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and control him as the supersoul. Although so small, He is still all-pervading and is maintaining everything. By Him, all these planetary systems are sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by His inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word, Achintya, inconceivable, is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, Achintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world, and yet it is beyond, and yet is beyond it. We cannot comprehend even this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent persons, avoiding useless argument and speculation, should accept what is stated in scriptures, like the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now that's a beautiful verse and purport. Okay, we'll go on to the next verse. Prayana Kali Mana Sachalena. Bhaktya yukto yoga baleno chaiva. Ruvor madhye pranam aveshyasam yak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. That's beautiful Sanskrit. One who, at the time of death, fixes his life fare between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga, with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There it is. That is the ticket back to the spiritual world. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Ajna Chakra. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga, involving meditation on the 6 chakras, is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga. Yeah, we don't practice the Sat Chakra Yoga. But because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace, meaning by the grace of God. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse, because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. So, in other words, what's being said here, we should be chanting the Hare Krishna mantra throughout our whole life. Then we'll be able to remember to chant at the moment of death, because we've been chanting every day throughout our whole lifetime. But if we say, well, I'm not going to chant, but at the last minute I'll chant Hare Krishna. No, it doesn't work like that. We won't be able to remember Krishna, believe me. The time of death is a time of great, what you could call stress. But the fact that we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day throughout life, at the moment of death, we will not be in any way stressed. In fact, we'll be happy because we've been chanting Hare Krishna mantra for so many years, and now we're going to see Krishna personally and go back to Godhead. Okay. So, I'll read the next verse. Yad aksharam Veda vido vadanti, vishanti yad yatayo vita raga, yad achinto brahmacharyam charanti, tate padam sangrahena pravakshe. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. That means they enter into the spiritual world. During such perfection, one practices celibacy. See, you have to be celibate. There's no way that we can develop love and devotion for Krishna if we're still engaged in illicit sex. We have to accept celibacy. So it says, desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Shri Krishna has recommended to Arjuna the practice of Sat Chakra Yoga, in which one places the air of life between the eyebrows, taking one second. Taking it for granted that Arjuna might not know how to practice Sat Chakra Yoga, the Lord explains the process in the following verses. The Lord says that Brahman, although one without a second, has various manifestations and features, especially for the impersonalists. The Akshara, or the Omkara, the syllable Om, is identical with Brahman. Krishna here explains the impersonal Brahman into which the renounced order of sages enter. In the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are taught to vibrate Om and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living with the spiritual master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize these two features of Brahman. This practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life. But at the moment, such brahmachari, unmarried celibate persons, life is not at all possible. The social construction of the world today has changed so much that there is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in the brahmachari principles, meaning engaging in celibacy. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to the scriptural injunctions for this age of Kali, that in this age, no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And of course, maintaining celibacy. That is very, very important. Now, let's say someone is married and they have 1, 2, 3 children. That's okay. But then they should take up celibacy after that. Then you have a spiritual life. But if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and then you continue having sex, you're not going to be liberated in this lifetime. You have a question?
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, in the previous text you were mentioning that at the time of death it is very difficult to chant and a person is very stressed out.
One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Go ahead.
Yes, Maharaj, that's the question I had. So, during our lifetime we go through so many challenging and difficult situations. So are those situations there to make us practice to take shelter of?
What?
Are those like difficult situations throughout the lifetimes?
Yeah.
I believe are those the opportunities for us to chant and practice before death comes? Is that the right way to understand that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the miseries help us to be very serious about this life and not do any nonsense anymore and engage in following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. Yes. See, when you're running into trouble in life, that's a message. You see, it's a message. And if you understand that, then you'll give up all the nonsense that you're doing and you become serious about Krishna consciousness. But if you just keep going on and on and on, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, all that stuff, you're going to go to hell. You're not going to go to the spiritual world. So these type of situations where there are, you might get sick, you might get, you might be robbed, you might be beaten or something. They're all messages that we should be very careful and seriously take refuge in the association of devotees. In the association of devotees, you're not going to really be beaten up or robbed or any of those things because you live what you would call a very simple life, right? You don't have to have big cars. You don't have to have a lot of money. None of those things. You just have simple living, high thinking. And you won't have any problem. But if you want to be, Elon Musk or someone like that, you're going to always have problems. And you're going to need to have, some police people with you all the time, So, in Krishna consciousness, you'll have a very simple, happy life, chanting, dancing, and feasting. That means you're going to be happy. And you don't have to be rich. You can have enough money to maintain yourself and also be able to engage in Krishna consciousness. Right? You're not going to be so busy trying to make more money, and no time for Krishna consciousness. That's a big mistake. And what are you going to do with all your money? Say, you're going to die and you can't take it with you, right? So the best thing to do is to regularly come to the classes that we have and engage in the classes, asking questions, and also giving classes. And that way you have a spiritual life. A life where you understand what is most important. What is most important is to develop your devotion and love for Krishna. And you do that in the company of devotees and every day chanting your rounds and always focusing your mind on how to please Krishna. Then you have a real life. All these other lives, trying to become a multi-millionaire, you're wasting your time. You don't need a lot of money. You need some money, definitely you need some money. But it's not good to try and become a multi-millionaire because you can't do it really without cheating. All these big millionaires, they're all cheaters. And they get caught. So best thing is chant Hare Krishna and be happy. We don't have to be millionaires. We don't have to be billionaires. We don't have to be trillionaires. We have to be simply humble devotees, very, very happy chanting Hare Krishna, and helping others also, chanting, dancing, and feasting. Haribol. Okay, any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I'm just going to read something else here. Sarva dwarani samyamya manohridi nirudya cha murdani adhai atmana pranam astito yoga dharanam. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements. There it is. Detachment from all sensual engagements, meaning no illicit sex, etc. Closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head, one establishes himself in yoga. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. To practice yoga, as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. Well, that means you become celibate. Closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head, one establishes himself in yoga. Purport. To practice yoga, as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self-gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the supersoul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the 6th chapter, this process is described in detail. But, as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. So what does that mean exactly? To fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service. Well, devotional service means you actually will voluntarily engage in activities to please Krishna. Like you come to the temple and you'll, let's say, sweep the floor, you'll give lectures, you'll have different programs where you teach people how to be Krishna conscious, and so forth. You're engaged in, as a teacher, to help others become Krishna conscious. So, if we become interested in helping others to be Krishna conscious, we have to be Krishna conscious first ourselves, right? And therefore that means we have to be trained by genuine devotees and then use that training to help others to become Krishna conscious. Now you have a vocation that is transcendental and has real meaning in your life. Therefore it says here, after being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. That means they're all the same. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is clearly recommended for this age. So if one quits his body at the end of life, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets according to the mode of his practice. The devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet, Goloka Vrindavana. For the personalists, there are also innumerable other planets, known as Vaikuntha planets, in the spiritual sky, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyoti. What is the Brahma Jyoti? It is the transcendental light that is coming from the body of Krishna. It's impersonal, but it's made up of unlimited number of living entities, but they're in a state of like sparks of life. Yeah. Go ahead.
As mentioned here, sound Hare Krishna contains Om. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra contains Om. What is Om? Om is the name of God, actually. But it's so much, let's say, finagled nowadays. You know, people, they don't really chant the name Om properly. They think it's some kind of a spiritual name, but they don't chant it for the love of Krishna. They chant it for maybe becoming powerful or whatever. Haribol. So therefore, what is recommended? Now, see, Prabhupada is explaining what it means to chant Om and so forth, but he's recommending that it's not necessary because Om is already in the Hare Krishna mantra. The Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's three words. There's Hare, Krishna, and Rama. If you chant those three names, you cover all the bases and you become purified by chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om is also included. Yeah. Okay. So that's why it says here, it is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. That means they're all equal. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is clearly recommended for this age. Okay, this means you don't have to chant Om. So, if one quits his body at the end of life chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets according to the mode of his practice. The devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet, Goloka Vrindavana, which is a spiritual planet where there's no birth, death, old age, and disease. For the personalists, there's also innumerable other planets known as Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahmajyoti. The Brahmajyoti is the light emanating from the body of Krishna, and it's impersonal. And it's eternal, but it's impersonal. But devotees are not interested in that. Devotees are interested in personality. Yeah. Impersonal, yeah. Okay, so. Yes, brother.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, here you have just read in this purport, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets.
Yeah.
According to the mode of his practice.
Yeah.
So Maharaj, if you can elaborate on this mode of his practice, what does it mean?
Well, some people chant Hare Krishna mantra. Other people chant other different mantras, right? Now, those other mantras are bona fide also. But the Hare Krishna mantra is specifically mentioned to be the best mantra in this age. But there are other mantras also that are spiritual. But they don't have this, let's say, it's not recommended highly. But there are some people that chant these other mantras also. So, it's better that we chant the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, taught us to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. He is our Guru. And he is a pure devotee of Krishna. So he knows what is right and what is wrong. So take the best and leave the rest. So we will chant Hare Krishna because Prabhupada chanted Hare Krishna. Yeah.
So Maharaj, just for clarification, when it says mode of his practice, if someone is chanting Om, so
Yeah.
Om is representing impersonal sound. So does it mean whoever is chanting Om, they will reach to impersonal Brahman?
Yeah.
Not to the
Not to the
Goloka.
Goloka Vrindavan. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They will go to the planet of demigods, right?
They go to hell. Okay. Should we continue? Huh? All right, we'll do one more. For one who always remembers me, meaning Krishna, without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added. but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga, without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha, as indicated by the word ananya cheta. In pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti, or salvation or liberation from the material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Niskama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a jnana yogi, karma yogi, or hatha yogi has his own selfish interests. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, meaning Krishna, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations such as Rama and Nrsimha, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and is easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, he is especially inclined toward those who always serve him without deviation. In other words, without end. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways, as stated in the Vedas, Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, Yam evaisha vrinute tena labhyas tasyasa atma virinute tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, the Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavana or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavana by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavana." As indicated by the words Satatam and Nityasa, which mean always and regularly, or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna meaning every day, and meditates upon him, meaning every day. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. 1. Santa Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. 2. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as a servant. 3. Sakya Bhakta, engaged as a friend. 4. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as parent. And Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as a conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Powerful purport by Prabhupada. Yeah.
This line, it was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan. So I was thinking, Maharaj, you are here, so Seattle is like Vrindavan for us.
I think all of us put together is Vrindavan. Not just me. But thank you. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. What is it? 9:15. Okay. Of course, we can go on all night. I mean, this is nectar. Yeah. All right, we'll stop right there and continue tomorrow. There's always another day. Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. You got it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna